The name Caitlin Clark was already correlated with the growth of women's basketball. However, her most recent action has ignited a much larger thing than athletics. According to reports, she has accepted a incredible $100 million agreement from the Saudi Football League is called Project B, a huge offer that left the WNBA crisis management leadership with the Project B said to have up to $10 billion in weapons, dollars in financing, luxury, and private aircraft, millions of dollars per game, villas, agreements. It goes beyond simply rewriting agreements. The future is being rewritten by the game. If you are truly here, narrative rather than the filtered version, sign up. Additionally, if you're staying, you had better prepare for the next meltdown. Subscribe, please. In the capacity of Commissioner, Kathy Engelbert rushes to offer comfort advertisers, as Adam Silver observes from. According to insiders, the NBA's position could be the initial domino in a complete breakdown of the WNBA hierarchy. If accurate, Clark's deal is more than just a professional change. Global power is changing. Project B's model has nothing to do with parity or sustainability. It has to do with dominance, spectacle, and worldwide presence. With competitions planned for Paris, Dubai, and Tokyo, with the streaming rights allegedly be negotiating with Amazon and Netflix, the Saudi-backed project is putting itself in its place as women's basketball's future amusement. Moreover, the WNBA, after the sports home, is now dealing with an existential query. How does a domestic league operate, compete with an infinite amount of wealth in worldwide aspirations? Just now, Caitlin Clark took the WNBA might sign a $100 million contract. Never get better. In an action that's previously referred to as the largest treachery in women's basketball history, Clark has allegedly agreed to a huge contract to quit the WNBA and sign with a new organization. Project B is the name of the Saudi-sponsored league. Not in a few years, not next season. Right away. And if you believe that this is only one player who is profitable overseas, reconsider. Because of this agreement is the initial domino. Project B isn't merely attempting to rival the WNBA. It is attempting to completely replace it. With having committed billions of dollars, a list of the 20 most targeted WNBA players, and upcoming international competitions. We are discussing more than just a talent drain. We are witnessing an adversarial takeover of basketball for women, and the most insane. Unfortunately, nobody in the WNBA saw this approaching. If they did, however, they were utterly helpless to prevent it. Let's be quite explicit about what's taking place. In this place, Project B isn't a straggler, foreign startup league attempting to make money. Its location. It is supported by Saudi funds, with a $5 to $10 billion estimate already underway. With AB, that is $1 billion. And they have a simple plan. Outbid the WNBA, outperformed them worldwide, and immediately bring forth the best skills from beneath them. Clark, Caitlin, who recently became the face that could be sold the most in, according to reports, women's basketball, obtaining a 5-year, guaranteed $150 million offer that includes villas, private jets, even ownership holdings and personal employees. She transitioned from being a WNBA rider coach team to have her name permanently inscribed on the start of a new world empire. You avoid making such an offer on the table. Clark didn't, either. However, it's not only her. Reports state that Project possesses a precise list of the top 20 WNBA athletes. Signing them all is the aim. The offers, which start at $25, are awful million annually, with certain players being pledged more than $1 million for each match. If those figures seem absurd, that's the main idea. This is a calculated flex. 1. This is where the panic starts. Because Project B is providing private chefs and international media agreements. Bus rides are still being negotiated by the WNBA, and divide hotel rooms. Headship at the WNBA Commissioner Kathy is among them. According to reports, Angel Berg is rushing to attempt to limit the consequences, hurrying to PR departments and making last-minute loyalty appeals to their remaining stars. However, it's too late. The WNBA has underpaid its players for years, preaching and undervaluing its product. Steady expansion, but its stars were silently observing the money go by. This sustainable growth now appears more like a time bomb in motion. To insert it. Viewpoint, the full salary of the WNBA. A team's cap is little more than $1.40 million. Not even enough to sign one of the players targeted by Project B. 1. And Clark recently received 150 times that sum. Or leave. If you're a professional WNBA player, you're currently watching her, player, take off for worldwide fame and you're wondering why you are still in this place. Project Beast playbook progresses. Outside of contracts, this goes beyond simply cash. It has to do with spectacle. They're organizing global competitions in Singapore, Rio, Tokyo, Paris, and Dubai. Full-scale events comparable to Fashion Week, aimed towards improving women's basketball to a worldwide occurrence. They've already in negotiations with Amazon and Netflix for exclusive rights to stream. They're not merely establishing a league. They're constructing a gleaming luxury-driven brand, one that was televised worldwide. In contrast to considering such, the WNBA begins to appear like a tour of regional exhibitions. Additionally, that's the actual risk. It was intended that the WNBA would be the highest level of basketball for women, the league that provided a home for players, a profession, a legacy. However, 4 years, it's found it difficult to fulfill that commitment. Players have been forced to work 2 jobs abroad. They have battled only to obtain flights by charter. They have fought for greater compensation, better amenities, and better advertising. Additionally, repeatedly, they were instructed to wait patiently. Next, Project B arrives, throwing patience out of the window and spending millions of dollars on the table. Just luxury, no obligations, exposure as well as genuine respect in the form of actual money. The WNBA's message. Players are obvious. You were never the issue. Let's not forget that the league was. Act as though the WNBA was surprised by this. It was written on the wall. From a NBA Commissioner Adam Silver's moment. Acknowledged the WNBA's lack of profitability. 2. Each news conference was sustained. The phrase, growth, was popular. The league has been communicating its flaws and besaw the cracks in the project. They didn't simply slip by them, blowing the entire foundation. The WNBA is now in survival mode. However, when your largest, a celebrity leaves for a rival league that's claiming private rooms and crimson carpets, Islands, what have you got left? Deal with. It's more than just a player departing. The public has voted nay. Faith in the future of the WNBA. And it's raising concerns throughout any American sports boardroom because Project B is not just focused on basketball. A model has been tested, an example where luxury, private international investment, because player-first transactions establish anew the economy of sports. Also, if it functions here, it will grow. Golf, tennis and football. We've already seen it. And it's hitting now. Full-force women's basketball. A few will contend that this is beneficial, that it will increase the standard and ultimately compel the WNBA to compete, to level up and to pay up. However, the catch is this. You can't simply print billions in a single night. You are not able to create international renown suddenly. Additionally, you cannot reverse decades of insufficient investment. Includes a few last-minute public relations operations. In actuality, Project B isn't in the race. In the WNBA, it's taking its place. And this makes it feel like a funeral because it functions similarly to a breaking news alert. The transaction with Caitlin Clark is not an anomaly. It's the warning shot, the opening ceremony of the riskiest period in WNBA history. And money isn't the only consideration. It concerns momentum, since each and every player who pursues her and isn't only going to leave for a greater income. They're departing due to, at last, they have choices. For the initial era of contemporary women's basketball, players are not confined to a framework that requests appreciation in return for basic, minimal care. They're not instructed to expand the game as the actual game gains, to cultivate them. They are appreciated vociferously, in public and with dripping contracts provide their approval. Additionally, that's the aspect from which the WNBA might never fully recover. Because even though they make an effort to match the optics are superior to the money. You unable to show your players that you are concerned regarding them when someone else simply provided them with 10 times the amount and a seat at the table. You cannot regain loyalty with remarks when villas, jets, and security for life is awaiting the opposite end of the runway. The WNBA isn't longer the ultimate destination. It's turning into the league for the off-season, and unless there's a thorough and quick revision of the league's operations, how it treats, how it markets, and how much it pays. This is the final game, not with its stars, abrupt breakdown, but with a gradual, silent movement of the league spirit. When every participant signs a dotted, corresponding to Project B, they're not only advancing their careers, they're making a assertion. Better is what we deserve, and we discovered it. If you've been keeping up with after years of WNBA play, this moment very likely feels unreal, much like when you watch the league. The players you cheered for, champion, get swept up by a superior, financed device, but the initial artists are left frantically trying to find significance. However, that could be the case when a league consistently undervalues its talents sufficient. They begin penning their own future with an oil money-dipped pen, and an idea far, far larger than TikToks during halftime and domestic TV deals. Tell me your thoughts. Is this the beginning of a worldwide movement for women's American athletics, or the end of an era? Leagues? Are these athletes selling out, or finally making money? Put down your comments with your ideas. similar to the video. If you're having trouble breathing, and remember to subscribe so that you don't miss the next crazy sporting chapter. Past WNBA is looking down on its greatest existential danger ever, and the source is not a rival league in Europe, not due to a strike by players, not. Nevertheless, even from internal mismanagement, that has happened a lot. No, the Project B, a multinational powerhouse, poses a threat that simply entered the space with oil money in a luggage, looked the WNBA in the eyes and stated, "All right, proceed from here." Additionally, the WNBA flinched. Caitlin Clark, second, signed that 9-figure contract. The power dynamics changed. That not a single player switched leagues. That was the American face. Defection in women's basketball. She was ESPN's optimism, hype, and one couldn't stop discussing the individual, selling out venues, being popular on the internet, provoking discussions. The league constructed its marketing apparatus surrounding her. She was the future of the WNBA. She is now the Saudi league's jewel in the crown. And this is where the darkness deepens. Caitlin's action is not the ceiling, the floor, that is. Project B is providing more than $1 million. The top players receive dollars per game. It's not exaggerated. That's the new. They're setting a standard. No more seasons. No consecutive flights and coach. No hotel rooms are shared. This is a tour of luxurious living masquerading as a basketball league, homes, boats, and ownership, legacy deals, and personal chefs. Stakes. When you contrast that with what the WNBA has provided its best players with, not even close. Let's discuss numbers. The 2024 WNBA max salary is approximately $250,000. And that's the highest point. The majority of players are earning far less. A few are continuing to work abroad during the off-season, merely to get by. They are elite athletes who compete for their nation, expanding the game and appearing in media obligations, motivating a generation, and they're not making as much as bench players earn in the NBA. The project we observed that, and they recognized a chance. This is more than merely attracting players. This is the league's retribution for years of disregard. Every one of those times, the WNBA informed its players, "We're hard on it," as you cashed those NBA relationship checks and continues to decline. Flights by charter. Yes, that window closed. It is not being worked on by Project B. Already, they're doing it in style. And this is where the WNBA should be. Leadership in complete collapse. The league isn't even acting like modest. They are rapidly expanding worldwide. An occasion in Rio, Tokyo, Singapore, Paris, and Dubai. They're not only games. They're encounters, oozing with endorsements, supported by media-connected fashion houses. Relates to Amazon and Netflix. This is a sort of glamour and publicity for the WNBA. Never managed to harness, and now it's taking place without them. Let's take to sit with that for a moment. Project B is allegedly in advanced negotiations for international streaming offers. In the meanwhile, the WNBA is still having trouble becoming reliable national television coverage. And don't even begin by looking through the YouTube comment sections of their games. Half of the fans are incapable of locate them, much less observe them in high definition. what we're currently viewing. There isn't a healthy rivalry between leagues. It is a calculated gutting. And nobody has a counter strategy because how do you react if one of your celebrities? More games are being offered to players. More than your whole squad earns in a season? This crisis is not fictitious. It's taking place in real time. Front desks are said to be in a panic. Coaches, even broadcasters are agents, hurrying. There is increasing concern that we aren't considering a one-time defection. There is a major evacuation taking place. Unfold. Gamers are messaging one another. Chats in groups are blazing. If you believe, don't believe that Clark's move was hidden. Every celebrity under 30 is already participating in the computation. All of the veterinarians are making calls. And each rookie is examining the project. Act as though it's the league to join. Thus, what is the role of the WNBA? Increase pay. How much money? Start a world tour. What is the budget? Include possibilities for ownership. For gamers. That ought to have occurred years in the past. This goes beyond simply missing. Take a moment. It has to do with being essentially not ready for the fact that your top talent has more possibilities now. Additionally, you can sense it. The change. Gamers once grit their teeth despite poor compensation and travel in the hopes that things will improve. Waiting is no longer necessary. If Project B provides you with financial stability for eternity, global visibility, a infrastructure of support, as well as a why stay in a lifestyle that rivals that of the NBA? Loyalty doesn't cover expenses. And indeed, loyalty no longer even earns you a assured flight on a charter. Let's have a conversation on the implications of this for the WNBA's the future. In the best situation, it turns into a seasonal pipeline, a feeder league, the location where up-and-coming talents are found prior to going to the actual performance abroad. At worst, it turns into unimportant, a shadow of itself, suspended. Moving on to mid-tier talent, the superstars showcase their skills all over the world. Furthermore, to be honest, it already appears that the latter. The irony here is sad. For years, the WNBA has worked to expand the match, gaining more supporters in the more publicity, more seats, and more jersey sales. It nearly succeeded. They paused. At last, the ratings were increasing. Clark brought eyes. The playoffs had drama. Momentum was present. Additionally, in one, the signing of the contract was snapped. Like a snap from Thanos. That's what makes this breakdown so heartbreaking and so preventable. This league might have been all set. It ought to have been making money. Players their true value. It ought to constructed the type of infrastructure. Defection was unimaginable because of that. Rather, they placed a slow and consistent wager on long-term expansion, on ambiguous assurances of equity. Project wagering is now underway and is currently winning. The WNBA is more than just players are being lost, which means the story. The back league of Saudi Arabia is declaring to the world, basketball for women is important. Female athletes should luxury, and we'll give them top dollar.